Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pillar Fortress of Solitude. As usual, in this issue this week, I'm Darren Bontes, and I'm joined by the boy wonder himself, Alessandro Barbosa. Alessandro, what is up, buddy?
Sandy Barbosa.
I'm
good, and you, Darren?
I am good, because this week we're talking about a passion of mine. We are talking about comic books.
Yeah, a passion of mine too, and not so much the rest of the Lazygamer crew.
No, but they don't know what they're missing out on. But to be even more specific, we're talking about the summer blockbuster event comics. Every year, Marvel and DC, they have their big event, something that they've been building up to for years in their various titles. And this year, they're kind of sharing the exact same theme of a reboot, or a soft reboot. On DC, you've got Convergence, and with Marvel, you've got Secret Wars. And Marvel arguably has the biggest of the events, so to speak, but we'll get to that just now. We're talking about, first of all, DC's Convergence event. So tell me, how familiar are you with DC following the events of the Flashpoint Paradox and the New 52 reboot?
Actually, not that much. I mean, I thought I'd jump onto New 52 when it started and, actually follow things religiously. But aside from following a few Batman stories here and there, I haven't really gotten into the New 52 at all. But the Convergence event sounds interesting, more, especially since it's bringing to an end, so to speak, the New 52 line.
Not quite. I think after 3 years, DC's just going to be dropping that title. It's not the New 52 anymore. It's set. It's set in concrete. They know what they've done. They're going to stick with it. But for those of you that aren't familiar with what's happening in Convergence, I'm going to read the synopsis for you. So, cue the dramatic music. The alien supervillain Brainiac has trapped cities from various timelines and planets that have ended, brought them in domes to a planet outside of time and space, and is now opening them for a greater experiment to see what happens when all these folks meet. Following in the footsteps of Brainiac is Telos, a new bad guy being introduced in Convergence. Named after the Greek philosophical term for end or goal, he is born of Brainiac and this mysterious planet, even taking on traits of their world, but becomes a character unto himself. Which actually sounds pretty damn cool.
Yeah, it sounds kind of weird that Brainiac is basically bringing just like every hero and villain together just, for shits and giggles to see what happens. But I think that's going to lead to some really cool, cross-universe fights. You got people from Superman and from Metropolis fighting with like Man, or, the Flash's villains fighting with anyone really. So it's kind of cool actually.
It's all about the fights at the end of the day. That's what we want to see.
Exactly.
Fight.
Who do you want to see like really go toe to toe though?
I don't actually have anything at the moment because I'm reading Injustice: Gods Among Us, so I'm seeing that happen on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I actually need to get in on that. I've started recently on Injustice and it's just phenomenal. It's really great, and I'm kind of glad that I started late because I don't think I'd be able to wait yet every week for a new issue. It's just that good. Oh,
it certainly is. What I am liking with Convergence at the moment is that following the events of Flashpoint Paradox and the New 52, what happened in the universe previous to DC's reboot, it's still there. There's still Superman with his underwear on the outside. There's still Barbara Gordon fighting crime as the Oracle, even though she's in a wheelchair. That has been, completely brushed underneath the carpet. So we're still going to see those characters, come back. And more importantly, we're going to see my favorite Flash return, Wally West and his family.
Oh yeah, because there are two Flashes. I mean, that's something I only found out when I actually started researching Flash for the TV series. You got Wally West and then Barry Allen. So what happens to Barry Allen? Is he gone or?
Well, that's the thing. You can have more than one Flash at any given time because you know how ridiculous their powers are. They can run through time. I mean, did you?
Okay, so then they can both exist, and it doesn't really make a huge difference.
Not at all. It's like Batman Incorporated. There's more than one Batman. There's a national branch. There's Batwing. There's a Russian Batman. There's a Japanese Batman that fights a guy called Lord Deathman, which is just sounds like an awesome metal band album.
It does. Okay, that's cool. I should actually start getting in on some of the Flash comics because I have heard that most of the lines that have been produced are really good. So, I mean, right now I'm just watching the TV series, and that's pretty great.
What do you think of the idea of Brainiac as a prime villain? Because, most of the time, like, the biggest evil in DC Comics is Darkseid, which is deservedly so. But I think this is the first time we've seen Brainiac step up to an event this massive in scale.
And he seems like a good fit because, like, you'd expect someone with that much knowledge about the universe and events to just be able to pull off something like Convergence. And I think he's also a villain that hasn't been given enough of the limelight, so to speak, because I think he's phenomenal. I mean, he's been huge in past Superman novels and stuff like that, and so I think it's a good fit.
This isn't DC's first reboot. I mean, I think this is going to be a bit of a softer reboot that finalizes the New 52 universe. But I mean, we've seen this before. I mean, have you read any of DC's other reboots?
No. I mean, comics in general have been a fairly newish thing for me. So, I mean, when New 52 started, that was about around the time where I was actually getting serious about reading comics. So, but I know the New 52 was controversial, in a few ways, and it still kind of is. Although I don't fully understand that.
That's cool. I actually kind of envy you, but as I was saying, this isn't the first time that DC has, just rebooted the entire universe. The first time that they did this was back in the 80s with Crisis on Infinite Earths, when they fought a guy who basically ate universes. This guy was eating entire realities, the Anti-Monitor.
And eating reality.
Yeah, he was that powerful. Basically took Barry Allen's sacrifice to put a major dent in this guy's plans before everything converged into one prime Earth, and thus we had the more modern age of DC Comics. And a few years later we had another reboot with 0 Hour Crisis in Time, and then a couple of years later in the mid 2000s we had Infinite Crisis, which saw various weird retcons and things happening because of Superboy Prime, who was punching reality. This actually happens.
You have eating realities, punching realities. I see. I see why these types of events are needed, though, because I mean, when you have so many different writers on so many different lines of comics, eventually at one point it becomes a bit out of hand, and they just have to retcon a few major decisions that probably need to be reversed so that the future of a line can continue. So, but this soft reboot of a sort isn't too bad.
Absolutely. And then we've come full circle now to the New 52, which was spun out of the Flashpoint Paradox, which, by the way, has actually also been adapted as a really great animated film. So this is something that DC, they've done before. They've cleaned house plenty of times. So whether you love or hate it, it's a staple part of those comics. But for the first time, Marvel is doing a reboot with their Secret Wars series. How much do you know?
Yeah, the Secret Wars I'm a bit more familiar with because I mean I'm more of a Marvel reader in general. So from what I've read, the Secret Wars is basically going to combine the mainstream Marvel line with the Ultimate line of comics that Marvel has been going on. Like Ultimate Spider-Man and Old Man Logan and stuff like that. And so I'm not too sure how that's going to work because those are two completely different universes that I think exist quite nicely, separate. But yeah, Secret Wars is going to combine them, as far as I know.
It sounds awesome. I mean, this whole thing's going to happen on a new battle world that's going to be made up of various realities that are formed on that planet as the heroes fight. And it's kind of a weird move because at the moment, Marvel is shaking up their characters massively. Iron Man, after the events of Axis, has become the superior Iron Man. I don't know if you're reading that.
I've read a little bit of that, yeah. I know about Superior Iron Man.
Yeah, it's basically Tony Stark restored to his original egocentric attitude, but he's still trying to be a hero in the worst way possible. And then you've got
sounds like a good Tony Stark.
And then there's a new Captain America, the Falcon, Sam Wilson. He has picked up the mantle of the shields for Steve Rogers, whose super soldier formula has finally run out and made him a geriatric. And there's a new female Thor who's kicking ass at the moment.
Yeah, the one that made all the headlines because, hey, female Thor.
I don't care. It's still a great comic if you're not reading it.
Exactly.
Fantastic art, great writing. It's just pure fun. But I'm really looking forward to Secret Wars, as I said. This is the first time Marvel has ever done a reboot, and they've got so many crazy universes with which to work from. It's insane.
But now with the Secret Wars now merging Ultimate and the mainstream Marvel line, what happens to the Ultimate line? It just ceases to exist, and we are now ready for a whole brand new issue 1 comics that have these worlds basically just together. I mean, will we have issues where you have Ultimate and Amazing Spider-Man together, or 2 versions of Iron Man or something like that?
I kind of like that, but I mean, who knows what's going to happen. What I do know is that the Miles Morales Spider-Man, his Ultimate Spider-Man comic will still live on. I don't know if there'll be an Ultimate Universe comic, but there will still be an Ultimate Spider-Man. But I'm just so looking forward to seeing all these various realities clash, like especially Old Man Logan, which is one of my favorite Wolverine stories of all time.
Yeah, one of the best out there, easily.
Howard the Duck is making a return. There's going to be a Captain Britain-centric country, Doctor Doom, Higher Avalon, Doctor Strange will have his own, starring role.
Ooh.
The Age of Apocalypse.
Doctor Strange will be good, yeah, because I mean he has his own film coming up as well, so that gives people I think a nice jump on point if really want to invest in him before Marvel tackle him in the film universe, I guess.
And let's just pump him out while we can. The 2099 universe, as I said, Age of Apocalypse. I'm so looking forward to seeing some of those guys come back.
2099 is such a weird, and it's like 2099 is like a cool ground for experimentation. I particularly like the Spider-Man in 2099 because he's just different, and I think writers have a lot to do in terms of future settings because they can go wild with ideas, really. So I'm excited to see what they do with that as well, because that's also combining in Secret Wars, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I think what I'm most excited about though is the artwork on Secret Wars. Isad Rubik is going to be doing the art for this. I don't know if you read the recent Mighty Thor series before Thor lost his hammer, which he did artwork on. And it's just the most epic, beautiful artwork you've ever seen. I mean, this is the only artist I know of that can make Thor punching Galactus in the face look like a fine art.
That does sound like a feat, actually. I'm not too familiar with most of the artists that, I mean, paint most of the books we read, but I have heard of him in the by and by, so I'm excited to see what he produces. I'm more excited as well to see if the sequel to Old Man Logan comes to fruition, because they have actually confirmed that, to see where they go with that, actually.
And even better, Jonathan Hickman is writing the Secret Wars. If you've been following him on, say, Secret Avengers, you know that he's been building up to this for a while with the various white events. They've had Earths converging, and how the Illuminati, the Secret Avengers themselves, have had to create, go through terrible sacrifices just to preserve their planet. It's been building up for years now, and as I said, I think this is going to be Marvel's biggest event to date.
So do you think that someone who hasn't really kept up with the events leading up to Secret Wars can, jump onto the I think it's like a 2-month event or something like that, can just jump in and use that as a way to, start with the new line?
If not with Secret Wars, I think what happens afterwards with the rebooted Marvel, I think it's going to be a good time to be a fan of comics, especially if you're a new fan. I think that's going to be... Okay. I think everyone's going to win. I think the veterans are going to get a great, massive, epic event. The newcomers, they're going to find something accessible to jump in on.
Yeah, because I think that's the biggest problem with these weekly lines, is that if you miss it from the beginning, it's very difficult to get invested in it afterwards. So I think that's why these kinds of events are really cool to have as well. Not too frequently, but every now and then.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for this week, guys. Straight from the positive zone into your comics, we're going to be leaving you to think about these massive events that are happening. Worlds collide, realities crash. That's it for the Lazygamer Podcast. Thanks for listening.
Cheers.